It's true. I kicked my corporate job to the curb. I had a prestigious and well-paying job, and it took several years to get into that job. I started my career on 47th and Lex in New York City at McCann Erickson Advertising, and I was running sandwiches for the woman who was doing the focus groups at that time, and I would stay late at night, and I was very fascinated in the whole procedure of focus groups and marketing research, and that's where I began to learn the business. And I stayed for several years on the ad agency side, and then I set about moving to corporate because I had the idea that there was more security there and also more money, also more prestige. So I went into General Foods after a campaign to win that job, and I stayed there for several years. And then I was recruited out of General Foods into a job in what was to become the Unilever system. And I worked in the Ragu Foods division. Of course, you'll know Ragu spaghetti sauce. And my job was in market research in new product development. And it was, again, a prestigious job, a very well-paying job. At that time, I was in Greenwich, Connecticut. I was able to buy a beautiful new condominium for myself, and it was an exciting time. But I was there for a while when it really began to be clear that my job in new product development was very much bounded by the manufacturing capabilities of the company, which meant we could make anything we wanted as long as it was a red sauce and in a jar. And that really put some structure around what we could or could not create, and I was beginning to get bored. At the same time, we had a very nice travel budget. I would travel around the country, very fine hotels, fine restaurants, but the head of our department at that time seemed to me that he was spending a great deal of his time examining our phone calls. This is back in the day before we had cell phones. He was examining the phone calls and then going from office to office and grilling people, and my colleagues, why did you make that call? And it didn't take long until it was very clear to me that I was not having a lot of respect for my management. So I was bored. I was looking around and I wasn't particularly impressed with my management or how the department was being run and what it could do. And then the final straw was when another adjacent division had very sudden and very draconian layoffs. And it was because there were some problems that Wall Street wouldn't like about the performance of the division, and management just decided to slash staff. And so I realized, you know what, this is not so secure. But still, every Christmas, I would get a bonus, a very sizable bonus, more than my father ever made, I can tell you that. And so I was beginning to feel golden handcuffs. And in combination with being bored and not really respecting the direction of our leadership, I knew I was in trouble. And so I set about making a plan to get out of corporate and become my own boss as a market researcher in a focus group and other market research consultancy. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll stay tuned. I have in the years worked with a number of people who have stepped out of jobs that they didn't like and have made the plan to do it, to keep the chaos to a minimum, to grow confidence, to keep thinking about what's next. I hope you'll subscribe. I am someone who very much believes that work that satisfies is worth the investment. Thank you for joining.